Right, you lot. Welcome back to the channel, your one-stop shop for calling out gaming nonsense, exposing industry antics, and having a good laugh while we're at it. Now, if you saw Twonk at Week video last Friday, you already know what we're talking about. If not, don't worry, links in the description, you can catch up after this one. But seriously, this guy who claims to be a game developer and to have worked on Black Ops 6, mind you, said something so mind-blowingly daft, I couldn't resist breaking it down. Oh, and before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe and all that bollocks. It helps the channel grow. Alright, let's get into it. Right, let's start with assembly language, often just called assembly. Programming languages were a family. Assembly would be that no-nonsense grandparent who knows how to fix out but refuses to explain it in simple terms. It's a low-level programming language that talks directly to your computer's hardware. While modern languages like Python or C++ handle heavy lifting, assembly is as close as you can get to ones and zeros, binary code that machine naturally runs on. Now, why does this matter in gaming? Well, assembly is used to optimize how games perform. Developers sometimes write critical sections of a game in assembly to make sure code runs as fast as possible, like getting silky smooth frame rates during those chaotic Call of Duty firefights. But here's kicker. Assembly is also a go-to tool for hackers who want to create cheats. By using reverse engineering, they dig into game's code base and use assembly to manipulate game's behavior. Wall hacks, aimbots, infinite health cheats. Many of them start with assembly. Hackers locate part of code controlling, say, player visibility or ammo counts, and then rewrite it using assembly commands to give players an unfair advantage. It's also a double-edged sword because developers use it too, both to stop cheats and potentially for, let's say, other reasons? Now let's talk about how hackers use assembly language to wreak havoc on video games. Picture this. A hacker is essentially playing detective. They start by reverse engineering game's executable file, which is often written in higher level language but gets compiled down to machine code. By analysing this code with tools like IDA Pro or Cheat Engine, they can identify key variables and functions, like player health, ammo, or even wall collision detection. Here's where assembly comes in. Once hacker pinpoints specific part of code responsible for, let's say, keeping track of your ammo count, they can rewrite it using assembly commands. A simple tweak could change, for example, this to this. Translation: instead of ammo decreasing when you shoot, it magically increases. Hello, infinite ammo. It doesn't stop there. By exploiting assembly, hackers can implement wall hacks, aimbots, or even teleportation cheats. These all involve finding and modifying specific code routines in game's memory. Wall hacks, for example, often involve bypassing collision detection or removing rendering at walls entirely, so hacker can see through them. Now, most modern games like Call of Duty try to counteract this with anti-cheat systems. So let's flip coin and talk about anti-cheat systems, those silent guardians standing between you and chaos-racked lobbies. Just as hackers use assembly to manipulate games, anti-cheat systems rely on it to detect and prevent those very manipulations. Here's how it works. Anti-cheat software operates at a low level, often monitoring game's memory in real time. Since assembly is essentially language at machine, anti-cheat tools look for unauthorized changes to game's memory or code. For example, if a hacker modifies section of code handling player health to make them invincible, anti-cheat can detect that alteration by comparing active memory to game's original code. Take BattleEye and Easy Anti-Cheat, two major players in industry. These systems deploy several methods like memory scanning, continuously checking for unauthorized changes in game's memory, signature detection, looking for patterns or signatures that are common in cheat software, written in, you guessed it, assembly, integrity verification, ensures game executable files haven't been tampered with since installation. Some anti-cheat systems even run at kernel level, basically operating system's core, to monitor for suspicious activity before a hacker can even get the foot in the door. A kernel-level anti-cheat can block cheats from accessing game's memory altogether, which is why they're so effective, albeit controversial for privacy reasons. But here's kicker. Hackers and anti-cheat developers are locked in an ongoing arms race. Hackers write more sophisticated cheats to bypass detection, and anti-cheat systems level up to catch them. Assembly is at the heart of this battle because it provides precision needed to understand and alter game's mechanics in real time. So when our Twonk mentioned assembly, it got me thinking, If they really worked on Black Ops 6, they'd understand just how sensitive this topic is. Claiming expertise in assembly, especially in a game with such high stakes, could raise some serious eyebrows about their role, or their lack thereof, in industry. This is where things take a turn into wild, real-time gameplay manipulation by developers. Now, before anyone starts throwing the controllers at screen, let's clarify, this isn't a confirmed practice in games like Call of Duty, but it's possible an assembly language could play a role in making it happen. Imagine this. You're deep into a map, everything's going well. Suddenly, your shots don't seem to hit as they should, or your movement feels sluggish. Could it be lag? Maybe. But what if it's intentional? Developers could theoretically use assembly to tweak game variables in real time based on certain conditions, like your performance, your skill level, or even your matchmaking rank. This concept ties to the idea of dynamic difficulty adjustment, DDA, a system where a game adjusts its difficulty to keep players engaged. While DDA is often used in single-player games to prevent frustration, in a multiplayer setting, it becomes far more controversial. Assembly is ideal for manipulating low-level game mechanics. Developers, or the systems, could write routines that monitor a player's behaviour during the match and adjust values like weapon accuracy, recoil, or health regeneration in response. For instance, if a player is dominating match, the bullet spread could be subtly increased, making it harder to hit targets. If another player is struggling, game could reduce recoil on the weapon or slightly boost the movement speed without them even realising it. This can all be done invisibly by injecting real-time changes into game's memory. And yet, tools to implement such changes would look very similar to ones hackers use to create cheats, just sanctioned by developers themselves. Why is this relevant to Call of Duty? Because some players believe this sort of manipulation already happens. Accusations of skill-based hit registration or rigged matchmaking aren't new. These claims suggest that game alters our hitboxes or damage calculations work based on the skill level or win-loss streak. Now imagine being a developer who supposedly worked on Call of Duty game, casually throwing around the term assembly. If you were actually involved in something like this, publicly referencing assembly is a massive slip-up. It's like accidentally admitting you know where bodies are buried. If Activision were found to be using real-time manipulation like this, it'd be catastrophic for the reputation. Trust between players and developers is fragile enough without fueling conspiracy theory. And for our Twonk, they're lying about the credentials. They've just poured gasoline on a fire they probably don't want to be near. Let's dive into rabbit hole of theories surrounding manipulation in Call of Duty. Whether you believe it or not, these ideas have been circulating for years. An assembly language could very well be after it all. First up, skill-based matchmaking. On paper, SBMM sounds harmless. It's a system designed to match players with others of similar skill level, ensuring balanced games. But many players argue that Call of Duty's SBMM goes a step further, actively adjusting gameplay mechanics to influence outcomes. This leads to accusations of things like skill-based hit registration, idea that hit detection is tweaked to favour lower skill players, making the shots more accurate while nerfing higher skill players mid-match. Damage scaling, claims that weaker players deal slightly more damage than usual to even odds. Theory here is that SBMM doesn't just put players into balanced lobbies, it actively engineers games' outcomes to keep matches competitive. And what language would be ideal for making these real-time adjustments? You guessed it, assembly. Now let's be clear, there's no hard proof that Activision does this. However, players often point to in-game behaviours that feel unnatural. Bullets mysteriously not registering hits, even with perfect aim. Sudden shifts in how the weapons handle, like increased recoil or slower reload time. Matches where lower-ranked players seem to have an uncanny edge of a veteran. One widely cited example were a patent filed by Activision in 2017, which described a system for encouraging in-game purchases by influencing matchmaking. According to the patent, newer players could be paired with more experienced ones who were using paid cosmetics or DLC weapons, making those items appear more desirable. While Activision's claimed this system isn't used in Call of Duty, its existence adds fuel to the fire. If these theories hold water, assembly would be a tool used to implement them. Developers could write low-level routines that monitor real-time player stats, like accuracy or kill-death ratio, and inject subtle changes into game's mechanics to balance match. For example, adjusting hitboxes so higher-skilled players need pinpoint accuracy while lower-skilled players get more lenient margins for error. dynamically tweaking weapon stats like damage output, reload speed, or spread to favour one player over another. Even if this isn't happening intentionally, bugs or unintended behaviours in code written with assembly could produce similar effects. Here's where it gets interesting for our Twonk. If they really worked on Black Ops 6, they'd likely know about systems underlying SBMM and real-time adjustments. Their casual reference to assembly might have been a harmless flex, or a clue that they know far more about how Call of Duty works than they let on. Either way, it's a red flag for both players and Activision. Let's imagine bombshell scenario. What if Activision, or any major developer, were caught manipulating gameplay in real time to control outcome? Whether it's to boost player engagement, keep matches balanced, or even push microtransactions. Fallout had been no short of catastrophic. First up, legal repercussions. Manipulating gameplay without player consent could land Activision in hot water with consumer protection agencies. In some regions, it might even breach advertising or fair trade laws. Players sign up for a fair and competitive experience, not one where odds are secretly stacked against them. And let's not forget potential lawsuits. A class action suit could argue that players spent money on in-game purchases under false pretenses, thinking the skill alone determined their performance. Public backlash would be immense. Gamers already have a tenuous relationship with big publishers, and a revelation like this would shatter what little trust remains. Social media would erupt with calls to boycott Call of Duty, and hashtags like #stop manipulating games or #Activision exposed would dominate trending charts. YouTubers, Twitch streamers, and gaming influencers would dissect every detail, amplifying outrage. Even those who don't play Call of Duty would tune in just to watch drama unfold. Activision would be forced to respond publicly and quickly to contain damage. Competitive gaming scene would take a massive hit. Esports leagues like Call of Duty thrive on assumption of fairness. If even a shred of evidence pointed to real-time manipulation, integrity of an entire league could be called into question. Professional players and teams could sue for damages, especially if their careers are affected by manipulated outcome. Sponsors might pull the funding, and competitive community could splinter into chaos. If our Twonk's claims lead back to Activision, the development team would face heavy scrutiny. Questions like, who approved this? Or, why didn't anyone speak up? Would dominate conversation. Whistleblowers might emerge, revealing inner workings of manipulation systems, if they exist. Developers themselves could also face consequences ranging from lawsuits to industry blacklisting depending on the level of involvement. And for our Twonk, if they found lying about the credentials, the credibility would be obliterated. But if they're telling truth, they might just have spilt gaming industry's biggest secret. Finally, this could change gaming industry forever. Governments might introduce stricter regulations for online multiplayer games. Transparency requirements could force developers to disclose more about matchmaking algorithms and gameplay systems. Most importantly, gamers would demand accountability. Trust between developers and players would take years to rebuild, if it ever does. There you have it, folks. Deep dive into assembly language, game cheats, anti-cheats, real-time gameplay manipulation, and wild theories swirling around Call of Duty. Whether our Twonk really knows the stuff or just stumbled into something bigger, one thing's for sure. This conversation is far from over. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and leave your comments and questions below. I want to hear your take. Do you think manipulation is real? Or is it all just tinfoil hat talk? Who knows? I might even feature your comments in a video. And with that, I'll see you next time, you magnificent